Alright, today I am selling my Sony ZV-E1 right here, just so it doesn't autofocus on my face. But this is a pretty solid camera overall, but I'm gonna give a few reasons why I'm selling it, and why, I guess, in some ways in the end, I kind of was a little disappointed with the camera, but overall it's just because I was trying to use it for something that it wasn't made for, basically. Let's start with the disappointment. The reason why I was disappointed was because towards the end, I was trying to use it as like a little bit of like a webcam camera for like streaming, as well as like I used to do a lot of recordings with my friends where we talked about like entertainment and stuff, like a podcast basically. So we would have like 3 cameras set up and just recording all of us, but sometimes it would take a while, like around 2 to 3 hours, not all at once, but like sort of like a 40-minute recording and then another 40-minute recording and then another one, sort of like that. But that camera, the Sony ZV-E1, was not able to really do that very efficiently. Like it would overheat pretty quickly, like in under about an hour it would overheat, and the battery drainage was really, really fast. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of got disappointed by it initially. But I was like, obviously, this is supposed to be a camera that you go out and shoot like really, really nice cinematic shots with, instead of like a camera that just sits there and records for a long time. Like that's not what the camera's purpose is, but still it kind of is a little like, it's because I came from using the Sony's A7C and Sony A7 III and Sony A6600, and all those cameras were capable except for the A7 III because it had a 30-minute timer, and then it stopped. But all of them were capable for recording for a very, very long time. So it kind of sucks that like when you, I guess, upgrade to one that is theoretically like better, that it cannot do the same thing. But again, I know it's the use case and I wasn't using it for the right use case. That's one of the main reasons why I feel like I'm okay with letting it go. Another big reason that's pretty personal to me, or just my situation, is like I'm going to Japan for a while, so I'm like, do I really want to bring 2 cameras around? Because even like when I went last year, I only needed 1 camera, and I brought 2 lenses, but I hardly ever used the other lens. So I'm like, okay, let's just sell it this time, and if we need a second camera when we come back, we'll just get a second camera. Maybe by then the Sony A7 IV will come out, and maybe I'll get that one. I don't know. We'll find out after we learn about the specs. But for now, I'm just like debating between, should I bring the Sony A7 IV or the ZV-E1? And I feel like the Sony A7 IV is capable of actually recording for a long period of time without like stopping and without like overheating. And the battery drainage is kind of similar, but I can use like a dummy battery, AC battery instead, and it goes on for longer than 3 to 4 hours. I tested it with streaming. So that's one of the big reasons why. But unfortunately, like these days I've been doing a lot of recordings where I just talk to the camera and don't really do like edits. The Sony ZV-E1 would be better for that because it can set up like a preset with LUTs and bake the LUT into the footage. That's like one of the main reasons I'm like, I kind of wish the Sony A7 IV had that. Like, I think purchasing the Sony A7C II would have been better because it also has that, and it has every functionality of the Sony A7 IV. And I like the photo capabilities of the A7 IV much better, just higher megapixel count. I personally don't really use too much like 4K 120, so I don't think I'll miss that much. And my iPhone is capable of doing that if I ever really, really needed like slow-mo for whatever reason. Like I'm okay with 4K 60 if I want to record more slow-mo stuff, but that's just me. So that's the reason why I ended up choosing the Sony A7 IV instead of the ZV-E1. Stabilization for the Sony ZV-E1 was really good though. Like that was the camera I brought to me last year when I was in Japan for about 5 months, and it definitely served me well for my purposes at the time. And I appreciate the camera for sure, and I think it's a really, really good camera, 100%. I just think for my use cases and like where I'm heading towards with YouTube and what I'm filming these days, I just don't need that capability, while I prefer having the other capability of longer recordings, better photos, and so on. Although the photos in the Sony ZV-E1 wasn't bad, it's just much better with the A7 IV, in my opinion. And now with vlogs and stuff and stabilization, I can just use my iPhone 16 Pro to record myself. So I think it served its purpose basically. So this video is just a send off to this camera basically. And I guess this lens as well. It was a good pair for sure. This was the Sony f4 PZ 16 to 35 millimeter G lens. Really solid combination. And a part of me will miss it. Part of me will miss this camera. But you know, we're moving along, and I'm sure there'll be a lot better cameras in the future as well that serve my needs a bit more. But that was the whole video. Let me know what your experience with the Sony ZV-E1 was. Did you appreciate the camera for what it was? Were you disappointed? I'm curious to your thoughts down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.